Hello everybody, this is my 3-month update video on learning Japanese. Just want to give my update and talk about the kanji paradox when learning Japanese. But first, my update. As far as vocabulary goes, I've probably clocked in a little over 300 words this month dealing with the holiday season. My quality of study time has not been particularly great. That's due to the fact it's just stuff at work going on, people calling out or being on vacation, and work just being a little busier than normal. It's kind of affected my quality of studying. However, with that being said, I feel like if I had better quality study time, I think the speed at which I'm picking things up is getting faster. I've noticed that I'm picking up words faster, even though the total amount of words doesn't really reflect that, but I think that's probably more due to the fact that I haven't really had the best quality study time this month. Hopefully that changes here after with the holiday season kind of getting past the big holidays here. But so a little over 300 more words with Link, and my tolerance for reading and ambiguous listening has definitely gone up, because definitely feels like you're force feeding yourself at first, and I've noticed that I'm able to read more and listen more intently. I'm starting to get over that hump where everything just seems kind of like a blur, or words just seem like babble to you. I'm still using Link, I'm still using Pimsleur. Just finished up the 3rd month of that. Pimsleur's still great. I feel like the difficulty of it this past month has definitely been a nice change of pace. It's been pretty hard. I'd say I probably only have like maybe 75% of the previous month like really down packed. So there's quite a few things I could still brush up on, but that's not really the most important thing about Pimsleur. It's not having all of the vocabulary that they give you down packed 100%. It's definitely mostly about just listening and taking the listening cues. And I'm definitely going to do like a full review of Pimsleur once I'm done with it in the next 2 months. But moving on from that, just doing lots of listening, watching TV shows, really listening to a lot of podcasts, because it's just, unadulterated speech with no pauses. And when you watch TV shows, there's often a lot of, space in between dialogue and, action or whatnot. But podcasts really seem to be where it's at if you're just trying to get full, unadulterated, maximum bang for your buck speech. That's definitely where it's at. So listen to a ton of podcasts. So once I get pretty comfortable with reading still, I'm going to start reading the podcast transcripts and listening to the podcast. There's like a bunch of stories and stuff that I'm kind of like working through. It's just reading through a podcast is really time consuming, because if it's like a long podcast, like 10 minutes, it doesn't seem long, but when you're actually sitting there trying to read the transcript, it can take a while to get through. Like most of the stuff I'm reading now, the audio for it is like anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, and that can take a minute. So I can only imagine a 10 to 15 minute podcast would take a lot longer. But other than that, just keep reading and listening. Now, this goes along with what I was going to talk about, the kanji paradox. I'm saying that I'm reading Japanese, but not really. I am, but not really. So the kanji paradox, which Matt versus Japan talks about, you need kanji to learn Japanese, but you need Japanese to learn kanji. So it's like, what do you do if you want to learn Japanese? So basically, it's based off of the remembering the kanji book, and I'm using his remember the kanji method, which is through Anki, and going through that deck, and I'm definitely seeing the big picture of the purpose of that. So for y'all that don't know, it's basically to get to the point where you can use kanji and recognize it and then start learning it as vocabulary in Japanese is you need to take kanji, which to most of us just looks like a giant blur of squiggly lines, and you eventually see it broken down as smaller parts and its primitives, and then you assign an English keyword to that. So suddenly it goes from a blurry, squiggly mess to something that you recognize. So that's like the first step, really, is to just go from the blurry, squiggly lines to kanji being something that's recognizable and you have a rough idea of what it can mean, and with the English keyword that you assign to it. And you know, the book works off of learning through mnemonics and stories, which are obviously, you know, not just for learning kanji, but for a lot of things, and a lot of, you know, memory competitions work off of mnemonics, and they use some kind of mnemonic system. So mnemonics are definitely effective. And don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise, because it's used in more than just language learning. But yeah, so that's pretty much how you hack the kanji paradox is, you know, break these things down into components and, you know, remove the fog over them. So, and when I say I'm seeing the big picture is when I'm reading, you know, I guess I'm calling it fake it till you make it, because I'm reading, all the stuff I'm reading is through Link, and I can read hiragana and katakana, but obviously the kanji I cannot. So in Link you can use, you can have romanji, which I'm currently using, and eventually in a couple months I'm going to just switch that over to furigana, if I'm saying that correctly. So I'm basically reading what I can in hiragana and using the romanji to kind of help me with the kanji and how it's pronounced. And I'm also listening as I'm reading, like I'll go line by line, and it's usually accompanied with someone speaking it in Link. And you know, at first it kind of was like a little weird, because all the kanji was just like a, you know, blurry mess, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. Now it's getting to the point where I'm seeing kanji that I've learned out in the wild as vocabulary, and I'm able to guess what the word means. And also now since I've seen these primitives, I'm also now recognizing kanji that I'm seeing out in the wild, and I'm guessing what they mean when I'm learning kanji, like doing RTK, remembering the kanji. So I'm getting like this feedback loop, essentially, from pretending to read and / actually reading what I can, and then, you know, studying kanji. And you know, when you're doing RTK, you're not learning how the words are said in Japanese. You learn vocabulary and context afterwards. It's really about just, you know, being able to recognize the kanji afterwards, and then applying vocabulary. So I'm not sure if that's probably the best thing to do with it at the same time, but I can see why, if someone was just strictly listening to Japanese and remembering the kanji, why they might get discouraged, because they might not see the finish line or the end goal. And for me, doing this fake it till you make it reading and listening and doing the remembering the kanji, I'm seeing the big picture and end goal like immediately, and it's having an effect on my learning, so in a positive manner. So I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing and learning kanji that way, and you know, keep reading this way. So yeah, basically just want to talk about that really, because obviously learning kanji is a tall order. You know, it's not like learning a new alphabet. It's extensive, and you got to really hack the system, you know. And speaking of like different ways to learn kanji, I tried wani kani. I definitely wasn't a fan, and I definitely experienced the thing that someone brought up, I think Matt brought up, which is memory interference, because they're teaching you the kanji, the primitives, and then alongside with vocabulary. And I was like, their first set of kanji that they try to teach you, like I was like stuck on it. I could not get past it because I just was constantly confusing different readings and this and that, and like I wasn't learning anything. I wasn't advancing. Whereas like 2 weeks into doing RRTK, like I was just already like hundreds of kanji into it, you know. So, and like had them pretty, you know, I knew the English keyword very well, so I was making progress really fast. And then because of that, I'm starting to see those kanji that I recognize out in the wild while I'm reading. So yeah, wani kani was very difficult because of the memory interference thing, and then the incredibly slow pace. You know, you can do a lot more than you really think you can. So anything that tries to like limit your own self-progress, I'm not a fan of. Like if someone else is like trying to set the pace for you, and when it comes to learning something, that's probably a red flag. Obviously it benefits them to do that as a business model to keep you on the hook for a certain period of time, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, I think it's going pretty great. Hopefully, you know, within the coming month, my quality of study time is going to be a lot better, because I'm still squeezing in a lot of time, but you know, distractions and stuff happen, and then like I'm having to stop what I'm doing to do something else or whatever. So yeah, other than that, it's going pretty great. I'm getting close to like 1,000 words, so that's good. Probably am at 1,000 words. I just don't have it in link yet, so whatever. That's just, you know, the tool to make sure that you're still making progress. It's not an exact word count. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I guess I just wanted to talk about the kanji paradox, and if anyone's watching this, just know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that's probably like the best way to go about learning kanji, is to learn it quick and dirty, you know, get through it as fast as you can with the English keyword, to where you're removing the blurry veil over the kanji, and then actually get out there and start reading it and learning vocabulary with kanji. Like, that's like, seems to be the best thing to do. Yeah. Other than that, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'll see you guys next month for another update.